Hey, good morning, Beth. Sorry, or Darlene, I should say. Good morning. Sorry, I got your messages about please hurrying and getting you out this reading, and you said even if it's a shitty reading, so bear with me, dear. You've got me first thing on Saturday morning. I haven't even run the daily yet for today. Like, I haven't even put play on the one that I previously videoed. I sort of slept in. I slept really heavy. I think it's due to the winter weather. I tend to sleep a whole lot like heavier, which is good because I need it. Um, and I'm sorry that it's taken this long. I know you put in the request, and I know you don't care really about that. You've been very flexible with that, and I really appreciate that. But I do also want to acknowledge that your patience has been a grace to me. Okay, so I do want to say that. Like, I really appreciate how flexible you are with this. So, couple things I felt inspired to do, and I don't know why, but I'm just going to go with it because that's what my inspiration told me this morning. This is a cloth that I had received from a very beautiful ryokan in Kyoto called Hiragia, and it's associated. Excuse me. It's associated with the holly leaf, and I'm not sure why, but I just wanted to lay it out. I felt like the brown background of the desk, which I usually do, is kind of dull, and this has been sort of waiting to be used, and I think that this is what we're going to use it for, is for today's reading, just as like a ceremonial kind of like cloth to lay out your reading on, okay? The decks that I've chosen for you, you asked specifically for Somnia, which I'm going to use, obviously. And then I don't know why, but I feel drawn to use the Angel deck with it as maybe clarifiers. We'll see how it goes. And then I have one other inspiration that I might add depending on how the reading goes, okay? Because I know you love the crows. And the Urban Crow Oracle is great, but I sort of feel like it's more for, how do I want to say it, like statements in a way, right? Like finalized statements or overview of kind of what could be going on. So we'll see. I've got it here because we've been working with it all this month, and I feel like it's appropriate to use it. But I didn't want to use Crow Tarot for some reason, and I don't know why. I want the angels here. So that's my feeling. So I'm just going to go with it. So I'm just going to get started without knowing much about your, situation and all of that. And I'm going to start to shuffle. So here we go. What does Beth need to know? I have a chair over there in the upper corner. I don't know if you can see it. And I set some stuff on it, right? Because to get it off my desk, to get my desk cleared to do this reading. And of course, the cat has proceeded to climb up on the chair and lay on the stuff. It's like the computer and things he shouldn't be laying on. But of course, he needs to lay there right now because there's things there. We know how cats are. Yeah, and if you're hearing that humming in the background, that's the heater. It's that cold here. I have my little portable heater on. Just too fast, sorry. So I should be paying attention to what I'm doing. Give me one moment. Okay. In your center, we have the Ten of Wands. Interesting. Tens signify completions or endings, right? And I'm going to say this came out upside down, inverted like that, and I just looked at the base of the deck, like I flipped the deck over to see, wait, was I all inverted? But it's not. That's the Seven of Coins, which is about patience, just in case that has any importance there. It did come out inverted, but I'm gonna upright it. I might talk about the inversion later if I look at other cards, and other cards seem to be telling me that that inversion is important. But what I get from this, Ten of Wands is usually about carrying a heavy load, right? being close to the ending, yet like not sure you can complete it. But ultimately, tens are about completions. This being your center, it feels to me like we are coming to an end. Like sooner or later, this rope is going to break, and it could all come crashing down. But I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing, because to me, when I'm looking at this, she looks rather stressed or stuck in a way. And so, in an effort to be free, sometimes we need to have a release of some sort, right? And that would be the release of this candelabra that she's kind of strapped to or carrying. You know, the traditional Ten of Wands is that gentleman carrying that big bundle of wands on his back, and you can see his home in the foreground, like he's almost there. It's like he's just coming up to the finish line, right? So, this being your center card, it speaks to me in regards to just, and this is more me like sort of guessing where you're at in a way, but it would be indicate that you're at a place of making some finalizations or some decisions in your world that will probably bring things to an end or make changes to start new chapters, right? And in doing so, there might be some pain involved, or there might be some sadness involved, there might be some lessons involved, but ultimately it is for your own good, and there's going to be burdens lifted, right? That's the kind of the thing about the Ten of Wands is he gets to let go of that bundle of sticks, or she gets to let go of the weight of this sort of candelabra that's hanging over her. Wands is the element of fire and spirit. So ultimately, to me, when it's a Wands card, it's going to be ideally in line with your spirit or have something to do with the freeing of your spirit, being more able to I don't know, allow yourself to be free. And that might be your focus right now. There might be things that are feeling a little bit either stale or burdensome, things that you've been, or feeling quite routine. Oh God, the dog's barking, sorry. Feeling quite routine, and it's like you're at the end of your rope, kind of. Sort of the feeling that I get with this card. I mean, literally, like she's at the end of her rope, get it? But it's time. But the cool thing, and what I feel like this is a decision in this particular card is I almost feel like the decision is yours at any point in time when you're ready. I may have to go kill the dog in the middle of the reading. Just bear with me. So yeah, I am gonna kill him. Hold on, one moment. I'll be right back. What are you doing? Hey, hey. Now is not the time to get rowdy, Gabriel. No. You guys have just been rowdy for the last hour. Now Dad is filming, so you need to turn it down. Thank you. All right, so I feel like this is your opportunity or your choice as to when you pick this. But I also kind of get this sense that this has maybe been on your mind or a focus of yours, maybe in the background more so, but it's bringing itself more to the forefront, right? So changes are afoot, is my feeling. But the changes, although they may be laborious, they could cause some sort of, I don't know. I don't know if pain is the right answer. Oh, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna have to kennel him. Um, I don't know if he so doesn't listen to me. Gabriel, cut it out. He's trying to get Gus to like engage with him in wrestling because I'm in the other room on camera and he knows he can get away with it. It might feel laborious, or there could be the potential for, I don't want to say harm, but like, pain, sadness, loss, whatever. But I feel like you're ready for it, or you're ready for it. You know this shift has been coming. You've been sort of sensing it, dealing with it, kind of contemplating it. And we're kind of at the precipice here with this card, is my feeling. Now, the next card is the Foundation, the card from the past that tells us a little bit about what's going on and why, or what was going on that opened the door for everything to be the way that it is today. So this is the Five of Cups. The Five of Cups is that card that it's like, traditionally it's the gentleman that's got three spilled cups in front of him and two cups behind him, and he doesn't see the two cups that are still full, right? He also doesn't necessarily see the river that's right there. And again, it's interesting. We have this bound feature going on amongst the, and I get that it's about this artist, but to me, there's a bit of a restriction going on here. And this is maybe the more emotional aspect of that restriction. This is where, at this point, we're ready to free ourselves, right? Or we're certainly looking at options. I'm going to kennel him. I'm sorry. I'll be right back. All right, I gave you a warning and you didn't listen. You heard me. Sorry. I'm sorry. I know it's fun in the early morning. I know, but you can't. You just can't. Okay. So this to me is it was far more in the past, right? It was far more emotional. I feel like you felt far more stuck or emotionally attached to the situation and probably confused by it, right? He feels way more restricted than she does. She can still stand up. She could actually reach up and mess with the candelabra if she wanted to, or even shift the weight or the responsibility, whatever it is that you've got sort of maybe hanging over your head or that you've been dealing with, thinking about. Here, it feels far more restrictive, right? It's like not being able to see sort of what we have versus what we don't, because what we don't have or how things aren't the way we want them is more apparent than what is going on that's good in our life, right? Now, the fact that this is in this position to me speaks to this idea that this is sort of the driving force of like, I don't think I want to go back there again. I don't think I want to feel that way again or be in that place again. I don't think that this is a bad foundational card in the sense that it seems to me like it looks like Beth has learned a lesson, right? Or you're at least have, progressed or come to terms with where things are at and are in clear understanding of where things are at. And so now it's time to begin to let go of whatever's left over, whatever residual was there. It was worse in the past. It was heavier in the past. It was um, more emotionally charged in the past. Now, the spirit or soul card, what's above you? Interesting. Like every other card is coming out upside down. But I'm going to flip this over. This is the moving to calmer waters card. And also, I'll have to say this: there's water in the background of all of these. I don't know if he took all of these pictures at the beach, but it's kind of like underneath all of this is this sort of layer of emotions that you're dealing with. Six of Swords is the mental realm, obviously, but it's always about moving to calmer waters. You know, he's rising above in the balloon basket, right? So he's up above the emotional aspect of the water. He's able to look forward to the future. This is what your sort of spirit is telling you to do if you're not already doing it. Mentally, I think that your communication, your thoughts are about, okay, so if this is where I once was, and this is what I need to do to take care of in the now, where is it that I want to go next? And how is it that I'm going to get there? And that's kind of the goal of your spirit. And I think that that's part of why you're at this chapter ending sort of moment, right? Where it's like, okay, I need to release myself from this. As beautiful as this maybe once was, or as important as it once was to me, it's maybe brought me a fair amount of like strife, struggle, pain, sadness, whatever. It's time to release it and move forward, right? To a more sort of, I don't know if mentally stable is the right idea, but a more mentally calm, clearer perspective, right? So I like that this is in your spirit space, even though it is a mental swords card, because it says to me that your spirit and your mind are kind of working together, which is not necessarily often common with people. Usually, situations the ego or the mind wants to get in the way and fight against it. This to me feels like the focus is really about, okay, where do I get myself to be in a place that is better for me, right? That makes me happier, that makes me feel less maybe constricted or responsible or um, uh, uh, penned down in a way. Okay, and it has. I'm going to say this: it has progressively gotten less, right? Because this feels way more restrictive to me from the past than the now that you're currently in. But I also love that he's in this balloon where he's floating up off the ground, right? Our spirit is sort of telling us, look, we can maybe even think our way or communicate our way up out of whatever it is that we find that is restricting us. Now, for the outside influences, we have the devil. Sign of Capricorn. I just want to look at this card. It's an interesting devil card. I've never seen it. And look at all of those ropes around him. And we have all of these ropes here and here, yet here the ropes are being used to hold the basket up. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you get that metaphor? Like here where she's bound and here where you were really previously bound to this situation, your spirit is showing you a way to take sort of what maybe has held you in the past or is even holding you in the present, and then utilize it in such a way that you can actually move away from it or towards something different through the redistribution of it, if that makes sense. The devil, as being the outside influence in the sign of Capricorn, he's usually the guy that wants to show us our Achilles heel. He's the guy that wants to, manipulate us in some way or keep us lazy, keep us stuck, keep us in a pattern that doesn't serve us. And it's interesting that he's on this mountain of ropes, right? Like this could indicate a person or a situation or even a particular Capricorn, somebody with heavy Capricorn planets or whatever, that is sort of the mitigator of a lot of this stress, or not the mitigator, but the instigator of a lot of this stress that you might have been experiencing, right? Or feeling tied to or responsible for, right? Carrying the weight for them. And so keep that in mind, that they're out there and that they're sort of not, like, I feel like they want to play on your defenses or your weaknesses, on your obligations, on your good nature of being a good human being and trying to do the right thing for the right reasons. And maybe that hasn't necessarily served you very well, and you're beginning to realize that. So let's look at the other outside influence. So we have the Six of Coins. Six of Coins is about charity, it's about sharing, it's about balance, right? It's about having enough and giving enough. It's not the richest card in the deck, right? It's not the most flamboyant card in the deck, but it is earthy, it's grounded, it is productive, it's discerning. It's about giving where you can and taking what you need, right? Not taking more than what you need. The devil on the opposite side would be greedy, right? For sure, would be self-serving, right? These are outside influences, correct? So keep that in mind. But this is about possibly the universe or situations giving to you little drips and drabs of what it is you need to do to free yourself from whatever situation is your burden, whatever has been causing you sort of this weight that's on your shoulders. This I want to say almost like a responsibility or a uh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like for lack of a better word, with all this rope that I'm seeing, whatever you're tied to, there's something that you're tied to, or I don't want to say stuck with, because you're not completely stuck. Some of this was a choice. Some of this was a choice a long time ago. It was harder then than it is now. You've become more accustomed to it or more relaxed with it, but it feels like you kind of got caught in it, and now it's time to sort of find our way out of it. There is opportunities being given to you to do that in the material world, but are you willing to take them, right? So instead of going straight to the outcome card, I want to shuffle for some clarifiers on this. I wish there was a mini deck of this. That would be brilliant. I should send him a message and tell him to make me a mini deck. But let's see what's clarifying. Let's clarify this Ten of Wands. On the Ten of Wands, we have the Nine of Cups. This is about sort of being self-sufficient, having everything lined up, everything taken care of. I feel like instantly this is the desire that lies underneath the freedom that this Ten of Wands would bring us, right? The power, the expression, the self-sufficiency that we probably know exists within us, and that we want it, right? That we want it back, maybe. That we don't have to answer to anybody. The moon is about emotional confusion, right? It's also major arcana, so it could be sort of what's tossing and turning you in between this. Do I feel an obligation to this person, this situation, this place? Yes, there might be memories attached to it. Certainly, there are emotional memories, right? But those things can have a tendency to sort of confuse us or keep us feeling stuck, feel a little scary in a way, right? But ultimately, the moon in the end will show us emotionally what we need to do and where we need to go as long as we're paying close enough attention. And then the last card is the Ace of Wands, which is, to me, the illumination of the spirit, the waking up, the aha moment, the okay, we can't do this anymore. I love that we started on a Ten of Wands and then we end on the Ace of Wands, right? So underneath this, it does say, to me, even though the moon is major arcana, right, the ace is also kind of pretty strong. It sort of helps to cut through that emotional confusion or entrapment that could be going on in that moon card. I mean, literally, when you look at the card, it's like the hand of God reaching down and tapping on that triangle, like opening up that mind's eye. So, to me, it's sort of like, even if at times we feel confused and we know what we want, that would be the Nine of Cups. We know how we think it should feel or how it once did feel, or that control. Control's a weird word. I don't want to use control for the Nine of Cups. I want to use like comfortability, right? That emotional sort of just everything being okay in our world and feeling that and wanting that and desiring that, but sort of being conflicted because we're not there and we don't. I don't want to say you don't understand why you're not there. It's just sort of like I almost feel like the statement inside of me that I want to say is this is like, why can't everything just be the way I need it to be? And that's not how it works. And I know you know that, but to me, that's the sort of vibe that I'm getting here. But you have some beneficial cards that are working for you. Even the moon is going to show you what you need to know. It just might be a little bit murky, emotional, confusing, that sort of a thing. You're just going to have to trust those more subtle, nuanced voices in the subconscious that are going to show you sort of where the changes need to be made. Okay? Let's look at this Five of Cups. On the Five of Cups, we have the Queen of Cups. Interesting. We have the Four of Swords. And the Emperor. Whew. So what this says to me, or how this feels to me, the minute I saw that Queen of Cups, I was like, oh wow, she gave her all in the past. That's what led to this Five of Cups, right? You were emotionally ready, present, and available. But then I kind of feel like somewhere in this past, you had to go inward and you had to really look at stuff. That would be the Four of Swords. That would be about the meditative space and the quieting of that moment and doing the more adult thing, or the realization here is that like there was some part of you which would represent as the Emperor, which is Aries energy, right? But it's still, and again, that's that fire of the spirit that we see here and here. But it is that energy that is sort of like telling us we know what's right and this isn't right. This is not who we are, this Five of Cups. We're actually this Queen of Cups, right? We've been giving to something that wasn't necessarily maybe giving back to us in the same way. And that can be a person, it can be a situation. And so somewhere along the way, I feel like the realization of that could be the realization of that through the Emperor brought about the sadness and the loss from like falling from the Queen to the Five, right? Where when we were once secure in who we were, how we felt, and what we had to offer, we somehow became confused, or somebody told us it wasn't enough. Somebody's needs were too much for, not too much for us to fulfill, but they were like, um, maybe sort of insatiable in a way. That would be also the devil's energy. And so, in doing so, we kind of maybe lost a part of ourselves. We were aware of it, though. The Emperor is a smart dude. Like, the Queen of Cups is emotionally intelligent, right? We were aware of what we had to offer, and we tried to stay there. We tried to, like, maybe even take a more meditative space or clear our mind and try and be the calm one, or whatever, and stay within a situation that isn't necessarily serving us or bringing us joy. But it's like, I almost feel like between the Queen of Cups and the Emperor, you made that choice, is the feeling that I get from this. You made the choice to be exactly where you are today, right? But now you're making another choice currently about shifting that and changing that and bringing yourself back to that place of that not self-centered in a bad way, but that self-centered or self-focused place that feels good again, that feels whole and complete again, that is similar to this Queen of Cups that you had in the past. Now going to the Six of Swords, we have the Chariot. Cancerian energy, nurturing, loving, motherly, right? I can pull this down a little bit because it's not all on the camera. I just want to make sure you can see it all. Also major arcana, fast-moving energy, moving towards the future. I will say this, with the Six of Swords and the Chariot, we need to move on. These are both movement cards, in my opinion. Chariot is about celebration and being, acknowledging one's own self, doing all of this from compassion, right? But even if the move on means a departure, or it feels emotional or challenging, taxing, or sad for us, right? Because we see some of that in the 10. We also see that definitely down here in the past in the 5. But it is ultimately to be celebrated. It is a powerful thing, and it is about nurturing and taking care of ourselves. It is emotionally attached. The Six of Swords is about moving to a better space mentally. And that is all going on in your spirit right now. Let's see what the next card is. We have the Magician. New creation. Another major arcana card. I'm just going to look at the third really quick. And we have the Three of Wands. What the hell is it that you want, Beth? Like, for lack of a better term, it's like, you can have it, girl. That's my feeling with these three cards running together. You have the Chariot, which will move you there with no harm, no foul. Like, let's get going. The Magician is all about creative power and new beginnings, and the ability to sort of use all of your faculties at once. Three of Wands is about creating that desire of, okay, what is it that I want, where is it that I want to be, and how is it that I want it to feel, right? And we have all of this going on in your spirit space right now. There's a new chapter of Bruin, if you don't know it, or you probably do know it. I sense that even in the Ten of Swords, like, the Ten of Wands at the very beginning. It's like, we know something is coming to a close because there's something new on its way, or that we're beginning to create and we're beginning to manifest and make real, right? Let's look at this Devil, because he's got me interested. There's also new creation in that Ace of Wands, too. Very much so. So with the Devil, we have Two of Wands. Somebody we maybe love or care about. The Wheel of Fortune. Is this the right time to be with them, or has it really worked out? I almost want to say, as I'm looking at this, if this is a particular person, the distinct message that came in my head when I saw the Wheel of Fortune on the Two of Wands is that, yes, this is a soulmate, but is this the right lifetime to mate with them? Is the feeling that I'm getting. Are they ready for us? And then we have the Empress. And we have the Emperor down here. It's funny to me, Beth. I almost want to say I feel like whoever it is back at the farm, because you've told me some of these things about like the gentleman that's up at the other place and all of that. I feel like he is fated to you. That's the Two of Wands to me. I also love that we have the Emperor and the Empress here, but they're not together, if that makes sense, right? Um, it's almost like you have to be the more grown up one, or have had to in the past. Um, that Wheel of Fortune, ultimately, it should be a good card. This should be a good run of cards sitting on this devil, but I don't like this devil with holding all the ropes. Like, it's almost to me as if, does he hold all the keys? Does he, I don't want to say call the shots, but it's kind of like if he doesn't, I don't want to say this. I feel like you're at his whim to a degree, and have been for some times. Like when he wants to play, you play, and when he doesn't, you're not able to engage, or and you're the more adult one in the situation. You're the one carrying that sort of heavier burden, it feels like to me, than him. And I get this feeling that with that devil with all of those ropes, he has no problem putting the burden on you, right? Let's look at the Six of Coins. We have the Queen of Pentacles. We have the Ten of Swords. And we have the Ten of Pentacles. When I look at this, I almost want to say, and this might be too personal of your business. I don't know what your financial situation is with him, but I feel like almost like you might be supporting him not only emotionally but also materially, and that could be sort of and it's like it's funny. It's like I almost feel like what I feel like these cards are trying to say to me is it's like, wow, she gives a lot to him. She gives a lot to him down here with the Queen of Cups. She gives a lot to him. Here we have the Queen of is this Pentacles, right? And we have the Ten of Pentacles. We also have three of the tens out. We have the Ten of Wands, Ten of Pentacles, and the Ten of Swords, all meaning chapter ending, right? There might be a gravy train that needs to stop. We look at this charitable aspect thing of the Six of Pentacles. Whatever's being exchanged between you two, or how it's being exchanged, it might need to come to an end, is my feeling. The Ten of Pentacles is usually about sharing the things that we have with the ones that we love, but this Ten of Swords makes me feel like there needs to be an ending to that. I feel like, and the Queen of Pentacles says to me that anybody that's giving anything material or monetary to the situation is you, right? And so, and this Ten of Swords is giving me this Ten of Wands energy. Like, uh, it's almost like, okay, it's going to sound awful, but the phrase that comes into my mind is, are you getting a return on your investment? And I think that the answer would be no, and I think that you've known that, and I think that you've known that for a while. Even though you two are linked up, that's the thing. It's like this Empress and Emperor, you know you two kind of like belong together, but the Wheel of Fortune indicates, and this Devil card indicates to me, is now really the right time. Is he really ready and prepared, or is he being a little bit, like, I don't want to say all over the place, but like, is he playing fairly? Because you certainly are fair, you know? When I'm looking at these cards here, it looks like you've carried the burden, you've tried to do the right thing. The Emperor would also indicate that, doing the right things for the right reasons, not cutting corners, really giving of yourself with that Queen of Cups down there, even going inward and double checking yourself with the Four of Swords, yet still ending up feeling like emotionally like strapped, let down, beleaguered from the past, in the past, right? Let me go to the outcome, potential outcome. Interesting. We have the Queen of Swords, but it came out inverted. I need to up all my cards, but I don't, I'm not going to read her necessarily inverted. I just want to look at her. This is the first Queen of Swords that I can think of. I can't remember, does she always position that direction? To me, it feels like the past. And it's interesting to me because she's blind. She has a mask on. And the waters there are turbulent. The emotions there are not. This is the first set of like, uncalm water that I see here. Queen of Swords is going to be more analytical than she's going to be emotional. She's going to make cuts or changes. She'll be quick in her decision making. Let's look at clarifiers for her. It's interesting too, we have 3 queens also up in the reading at this point. We have the Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Cups, and now Queen of Swords. Like, almost as if, like, we're regaining back some of our, not regaining back, but reclaiming some of our feminine power. Because we have it here, or we had it here, and we maybe gave it up a little bit in an effort to maybe make ends meet or to meet them where they're at in hopes that they might change. And this Empress card to me feels like he does give you moments where he is creative, it is good, it does feel connected, it does feel right because you have this Emperor energy. But he always sort of seems to not finish it out or finish out the job in a way. So Queen of Swords. On that is the Judgment card, our good friend Judgment, which we saw the last 2 days in the dailies. I did the daily yesterday, and it was the Judgment card. It should air this morning, and I didn't realize that we had just seen it the day before because I hadn't written it on my calendar. And I was like, didn't we just see this card? I couldn't even think about that it was just the day before that the Judgment card. So it rolled out twice. It's rolled out 3 times this week. Judgment is about answering the call, right? Being ready. It is major arcana. It is about making those steps, taking those risks, answering the call that is within us or from our higher self that tells us what we need to do. Oh, yay, great. Let's get even more confused. We have the call of the Lovers. The Lovers is also about making a choice, right? Sign of Gemini. And then we have the King of Cups. That's not a very clear answer to me. Because we have the Queen down here in the past. It almost feels like, is it a little too late? Alright, I'm going to say this. What I feel like this reading is about is I feel like this is this relationship with this gentleman, right, that you've told me about. And I feel like you know that there's a connection there. You know that that's definitely even a fated connection, right? Like something that you guys have maybe incarnated together a few times over, right? And you were trying to make it work this time. And can it work? I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I feel like you're carrying the burden on most of this. And this run here says to me, lovers is usually a great card, meaning like, oh, yes, it's, fated love, blah, blah, blah. But when I look at this Queen of Swords, she's too analytical. She's too much about like, she's not having it. I mean, she's even turned away from these other cards. She like sort of feels like she's done to me. And then the Judgment card says it's like, okay, maybe it's time to just free ourselves, step away, move forward, answer the call that's going on within us, because there is a strong call within us for movement, for new creation, for new opportunities. Whether he can get on the ball and get his shit together is on him, right? And I kind of get a feeling like it's like he meets you at moments, but he meets you and then disappears, or it doesn't quite work, right? We see that reflected in the Empress here, but the Emperor was down here in the past. Like when you were ready to meet him, he's like maybe now sometimes showing you when it's correct. Or does that make sense? And back here in the past when you were giving him your Queen of Cups, maybe now he's kind of willing to step forward, but has too much water gone under the bridge, right? Has too much been said, too much not been done when it needed to be done. And so are you done? Is kind of the feeling that I get. And it looks to me like you might be. The Lovers is a choice. You can choose to stay and try and make it work, but that's if I think he brings you this King of Cups. But he's also got to stay in that role, right? He's got to sort of stay in that role. And then you also have to, my feeling with these cards is you have to let go of the past and bring back this Queen of Cups and this Emperor. But there's still something going on. There's some sort of burden that he needs you to carry to be with him. And I'm wondering if it's not financial in some way. Like to me, it feels like almost like you're the breadwinner, but you're also, not only are you the breadwinner, like financially in a way, you're also like the emotional support for the both of you. And so is that working for you is my question for you, because that's not a question I want to answer for you. My guess is looking at these cards, it's not quite, and it hasn't been for a while. And you may go back and forth and you may get glimpses of him in a way that, makes sense to you or rings bells in you or reminds you, yes, indeed, I do love this man. Yes, indeed, he feels familiar to me. And I mean familiar more at a spirit level. But this Wheel of Fortune makes me feel like, is this the right time? And this is in his outside influences. Like maybe he's unsure. And that's why he can't give you the full-time Empress when you needed it back in the past. Or he can't give you the full-time King of Cups when you were giving him your Queen of Cups in the past. Alright, so we're going to look here. I'm just going to do this Crow Oracle. I'm going to do one for you and one for him. Like as to where you guys are at. For you, survival. And for him, mischief. I don't even know that I need to read these definitions. It's interesting too, one is a fox and one has a cat. Like almost opposite animals in a weird way, but they're also complementary to one another. One has a singular crow, and the other has like multiple crows flying around, like chaotic. And then I think of all of these ropes, right? These ropes that are tied in the 5 and in the 10. It's like, he has no problem placing these ropes upon you, or these responsibilities or these needs, through his lack of being sort of present in the moment, right? That's where maybe this mischief comes in, feeling like he's not really giving you what you need. And you're like, sort of, this survival card to me says that you might be the glue that's holding this together in a weird way. I do think you both understand the sort of fatedness and the connection. I just don't know that he honors it in the same way that you do, or has honored it in the same way that you do in the past. And at this point, you could be contemplating whether or not that's enough, whether or not it's time to sort of make changes, shifts, movements. That survival card says to me that you're not necessarily getting what you need out of this at all. And this mischief card says to me that he might be getting more than he deserves out of this. Um, Certainly more than what he's maybe putting in, if that makes sense. That is your reading, my dear. I hope it makes sense. You're going to have to let me know after I send it out to you what you think, and if it resonates at all. If it applies to a different situation and you can apply it, feel free to do so. I just sort of feel like there's something about these ropes and the King of Cups, the Queen of Cups, the Empress, the Emperor, the Two of Wands, the Lover's card. These things feel a little bit strangely fated, to me. And up in this spirit space, I am going to speak to this. The Three of Wands is always about looking to the future. Maybe there could be somebody else out there that is also just as fated to you, another soulmate or another connection that you might be interested in pursuing or creating. That would be the Magician's energy under there. But you have to believe that you can do that. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to send this over. I just need to upload it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for being patient, and I will talk to you later. Have a great weekend, and let me know how it reads, if it makes sense to you. All right, take care. Bye.